You think you know love. You've been told love is sacrifice. Love is compromise. Love is staying together when everything inside you screams to run. Love is giving until you're empty, until you're a hollow shell pretending to be whole. But what if everything you've been taught about love is a lie? What if the love you've been chasing, the love you've been performing, the love you've been dying for, is not love at all, but the desperate hunger of the ego? You've been loving from emptiness, from need, from the terror of being alone with yourself. This is not love. This is possession wearing love's mask. Real love, the love that transforms, that liberates, that burns away everything false. This love you have never known. Because real love begins where your ego ends. Look at your relationships. Look at the patterns that repeat like ancient curses. The same arguments, the same disappointments, the same desperate attempts to make someone love you the way you need to be loved. You call this romance. You call this devotion. You call this commitment. But it's addiction. It's the ego's insatiable hunger disguised as the heart's deepest longing. You've been drinking from empty wells, wondering why you're still thirsty. You've been seeking completion in incomplete people, wondering why you feel more broken than before. The love you've known is not love. It's mutual need management. It's two egos dancing the dance of codependence, calling it connection. From the moment you could speak, they taught you love was transaction. If you're good, I'll love you. If you behave, you'll be loved. Love means never saying no. They conditioned you to believe love required your disappearance, your silence, your smallness. So you learned to love from fear. You learned to give because you were terrified of being abandoned. You learned to stay because leaving felt like death. You called this love, but it was survival. Your mother's conditional affection became your template. Your father's emotional unavailability became your standard. The playground rejections became your deepest wounds. And from these wounds you built your understanding of love. You learned that love meant changing yourself to fit someone else's needs. You learned that love meant accepting crumbs and calling them feasts. You learned that love meant betraying yourself to avoid betrayal. The churches told you love was selfless. The movies told you love was suffering. The songs told you love was longing. So you became selfless until you disappeared. You suffered until you mistook pain for passion. You longed until longing became your identity. You've been performing love for so long, you've forgotten what it means to love from fullness, to love without agenda, to love without the desperate need to be loved back. Your relationships became mirrors of your hunger. You attracted other hungry souls, and together you devoured each other, calling it devotion. The pain you feel, that constant ache, that sense that something is missing. This is not the absence of love, this is the presence of ego masquerading as love. The ego loves conditionally. It loves to possess, it loves to control, it loves to be needed, but the ego cannot love. It can only consume. Every time you said, "I love you," the ego whispered, "Love me back." Every time you gave, the ego kept score. Every time you sacrificed, the ego built resentment like a wall between you and the very person you claimed to love. You thought you were being noble. You thought you were being spiritual. You thought you were being good. But you were being afraid. Afraid of your own power. Afraid of your own completeness. Afraid of loving so fully that you needed nothing in return. Deepak speaks of consciousness as the ground of all being. But consciousness is not something you think about. It's something you are. When you love from ego, you love from the surface, from the story you tell about yourself, from the identity you've constructed to navigate a world that taught you love was earned. But beneath the ego lies something vast, something that has never been hurt, something that has never been rejected. This is your true self, the witness, the one who remains when all stories fall away. From this place, love is not something you do. Love is something you are, not the love that needs, the love that is, not the love that grasps, the love that releases, not the love that demands, the love that simply flows. Like the sun, which doesn't love selectively. It shines because shining is its nature. Like the ocean, which doesn't choose which rivers to embrace. It receives because receiving is its essence. This is love without ego, love without story, love without the desperate need to be validated by another's response. But to reach this love, you must first descend into the darkness of your own needs. You must face the terrifying possibility that you are already complete. You must confront the ego's deepest fear, that you don't need anyone to save you. The ego has convinced you that love means finding your missing half, but consciousness knows that you were never broken. You were never incomplete. You were never lacking. The search for your other half is the ego's grandest illusion. It keeps you seeking outside yourself for what can only be found within. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this. The mystics spoke of the beloved not as another person, but as the divine presence within your own heart. They knew that all seeking is ultimately seeking for your own true nature. When Jesus spoke of loving your neighbor as yourself, he wasn't giving moral instruction. He was revealing metaphysical truth. Your neighbor is yourself. The love you give and the love you receive are movements of the same consciousness. When Buddha spoke of compassion, he wasn't describing an emotion. He was pointing to the natural response of a mind that has recognized its unity with all life. This is the foundation that ego-based love lacks. It tries to build connection from separation. It tries to create unity from division. It tries to find wholeness from fragments. But consciousness-based love starts from unity and expresses as diversity. It starts from wholeness and celebrates uniqueness. It starts from completion and enjoys exploration. What if love was not sacrifice but overflow? What if love was not giving from emptiness, but sharing from abundance? Imagine loving someone so completely that you needed nothing from them. No validation, no reciprocation, no guarantee they would stay. Imagine loving from such fullness that their love became a gift you received, not a debt they owed. This is love without ego. Love without agenda. Love that flows like a river that has found its source. When you love from this place, you don't lose yourself in another. You find yourself through another. You don't complete each other. You celebrate each other's completeness. You don't need them to be different. You love them as they are, and this love becomes the space in which they can transform, not for you, but for themselves. This love asks nothing, demands nothing, expects nothing, and paradoxically, this is the love that receives everything. Because when you love without need, you create space for authentic love to emerge. Not the performed love of ego, but the spontaneous love of being. Your relationships become temples, not battlegrounds, spaces of growth, not cages of control. You become gardeners of each other's souls, not collectors of each other's promises. This is the love that Rumi wrote about when he said, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." This is the love that transforms because it doesn't try to transform. It loves what is, and what is begins to blossom in the light of that acceptance. When you love from ego, you love the person you think they could become. When you love from consciousness, you love the person they already are, and this love becomes the catalyst for their own unfolding. You stop trying to fix anyone. You stop trying to complete anyone. You stop trying to save anyone. Instead, you become a presence, a space, a mirror in which others can see their own beauty reflected back to them. This love doesn't cling because it doesn't fear loss. It knows that what is real cannot be lost, and what can be lost was never real. This love doesn't control because it doesn't need outcomes. It gives for the joy of giving, loves for the ecstasy of loving. This love doesn't manipulate because it has no agenda. It simply is like a flower that blooms not to attract bees, but because blooming is its nature. From this place, relationships become spiritual practice. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to love more completely, to see more clearly, to be more present. You stop keeping score because there's nothing to win. You stop building walls because there's nothing to defend. You stop wearing masks because there's nothing to hide. You become transparent, authentic, real, and in this realness, you discover that love was never something you needed to find. It was something you needed to remember you already are. Watch how this love moves through you. Notice how it changes the quality of your presence. When you enter a room, you're not seeking, you're radiating. When you speak, you're not performing, you're expressing. When you touch, you're not grasping, you're blessing. This love makes you dangerous to the old world, dangerous to the systems built on scarcity and need, dangerous to the institutions that profit from your emptiness. Because a person who loves from fullness cannot be controlled, cannot be manipulated, cannot be sold the lie that they are incomplete. You become like water that has remembered it is, the ocean. You move with power not because you force, but because you flow. You transform everything you touch not through effort, but through essence. In your relationships, something miraculous happens. The people around you begin to remember their own wholeness. Your love becomes a mirror in which they see not their wounds, but their wonder, not their lack, but their luminosity. Children feel safe in your presence because you need nothing from them. Partners feel free in your love because you possess nothing of them. Friends feel seen by you because you look with eyes unclouded by your own needs. This is how love heals, not by trying to heal, but by being so whole that wholeness becomes contagious. This is how love transforms, not by demanding change, but by loving so completely that transformation becomes inevitable. This is how love liberates, not by breaking chains, but by loving so freely that others remember their own freedom. You discover that every relationship in your life was preparing you for this moment. Every heartbreak was teaching you what love is not. Every disappointment was clearing space for what love is. The narcissists taught you about boundaries. The unavailable ones taught you about self-worth. The controllers taught you about freedom. The takers taught you about giving from fullness rather than depletion. Now you understand. They were not obstacles to love. They were part of love's curriculum. They were not preventing you from finding love. They were preparing you to become love. This love you've discovered is not exclusive. It's inclusive. It doesn't diminish when shared. It multiplies. It doesn't run out when given. It refills from its own source. You realize you can love your ex-partner without wanting them back. You can love your difficult family without needing them to change. You can love strangers without knowing their stories, because this love is not based on compatibility. It's based on recognition. The recognition that beneath every mask, behind every defense, beyond every wound, lives the same consciousness that lives in you. This is the love that Buddha called compassion. This is the love that Christ called agape. This is the love that every mystic throughout history has pointed toward with trembling fingers and inadequate words. It's not a feeling. It's a being. It's not an emotion. It's a revelation. It's not something you fall into. It's something you rise into. And once you've tasted this love, once you've lived from this place, you can never go back to the hungry love of ego. You can never again mistake need for connection or possession for devotion. You have crossed a threshold. You have awakened to your own nature. You have remembered what you came here to be. But even this love must die. Even this pure love, this egoless love, must be released. Because attachment to any form, even the form of perfect love, is still attachment. The deepest love knows when to hold and when to let go, when to speak and when to fall silent, when to be present and when to step aside. Sometimes love means staying. Sometimes love means leaving. Sometimes love means fighting for someone. Sometimes love means releasing them to their own journey. The ego wants love to be permanent. It wants guarantees, it wants forever promises and unbreakable bonds. But consciousness knows that everything in form is temporary. Every relationship has seasons. Every connection has its time of flowering and its time of falling away. This doesn't make love less sacred. It makes love more precious. When you love from ego, you cling because you're afraid. When you love from consciousness, You hold lightly because you understand. You understand that true love never dies. It simply changes form. The people you love may leave your life, but the love you shared becomes part of who you are. It transforms you. It lives in you. It flows through you to others. In the silence between relationships, in the space between loves, you return to yourself. You remember that you are not half of something waiting to be completed. You are whole. You are love itself. There is a season for connection and a season for solitude, a time for intimacy and a time for independence, a time for sharing your heart and a time for retreating into the silence where hearts are renewed. The ego fears this, aloneness. It interprets solitude as rejection, independence as abandonment, silence as death. But consciousness knows that solitude is not loneliness. It's communion with your deepest self. Independence is not isolation. It's freedom to choose love over need. Silence is not death. It's the space where new life is conceived. In the monastery of your own heart, away from the noise of others' expectations, you rediscover who you are. When you're not trying to be what someone else needs, you remember your own rhythm, your own truth, your own wild, untamed essence that no relationship can contain and no person can own. This is the love that includes letting go, the love that honors endings as much as beginnings, the love that trusts the cycles of connection and separation, as natural as the seasons themselves. When you love from this understanding, you don't mourn endings, you celebrate completions. You don't resist change, you dance with transformation. You don't fear loss, you trust renewal, because you know that love is not something you have, it's something you are. And what you are cannot be lost, no matter who leaves or stays. So, here is your invitation. Step into the silence where ego dies and love is born. Stop loving from hunger. Start loving from abundance. Stop needing love. Start being love. This is not a philosophy to think about. It's a reality to live. This is not a concept to understand. It's a truth to embody. Every moment offers you the choice. Will you love from ego or from essence? Will you give from emptiness or from overflow? Will you seek completion or express wholeness? The path is simple but not easy. It requires the death of everything you thought love was supposed to be. It requires the courage to love without guarantees, to give without keeping score, to open without the promise of reciprocation. It requires you to become so full of love that you can't help but spill over. So complete in yourself that others become bonuses, not necessities. So connected to the source of love that you never again mistake another person's affection for the love that you are. In the comments below, write these words. I choose to love, from wholeness, not from need. Let these words be your commitment, your declaration, your return to what you've always been. But don't stop there. Let this commitment transform how you love today. Let it change how you speak to your partner, how you hold your children, how you treat strangers on the street. Let it revolutionize your relationship with yourself. Stop the internal criticism. End the self-rejection. Cease the endless attempts to earn your own love through achievement or perfection. Love yourself the way consciousness loves, unconditionally, completely, without reservation. And from this, self-love, let all other love flow. Because real love, the love that heals, the love that liberates, the love that transforms. This love has been waiting for you to stop performing and start being. It has been waiting for you to stop chasing and start shining. It has been waiting for you to remember that you are not someone who needs love. You are love itself, temporarily forgetting its own nature. The moment you remember, everything changes. Not because you find love, but because you realize love was never lost. It was simply buried beneath the ego's desperate hunger. Now it rises. Now it flows. Now it becomes what it has always been. Unlimited, unconditional, unstoppable. This is your true nature. This is your deepest truth. This is love without ego. Love without end. The journey begins now. The transformation starts today. The love you've been seeking is the love you've always been. Stop seeking. Start being, stop needing, start overflowing, stop performing love. Start being love. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to love. Welcome home to the truth that has been waiting beneath every false belief, every desperate need, every broken heart. You are love. You have always been love. You will always be love. Now live like you know it.